All right, just as a preface, I decided to add this little disclaimer in here. Um, I just wanted to show you guys in this video how to overclock not just this laptop, not just the GL702. You can do this to any laptop screen as long as you've got an NVidia graphics on it. Some ATI, or not, I shouldn't call it ATI, Radeon cards, they do also allow you to do an overclock with them as well. But I'm showing you today how to do it with NVIDIA. Also, when we are doing this, this is not something that you want to go crazy with and just bump it up to 120 just because you can. It's probably not gonna work. Everybody's are different. Maybe you're only able to get 99. Maybe maybe you're able to get 110. Just stair step it. If it's just starting at 75, just set it at 85. And then stair step it one at a time. If that works, click test. If that works, then test an 86 and just keep going up from there. Mine is at 102. I mean, that's as high as I can get, but I just set it at 100 just because it's better for me not to push it as far as it goes. That's my reasoning behind it. Everybody can do their own, and of course, I'm not liable for anything you guys do. I mean, if you damage your stuff, by the way, I've never damaged anything, and I've been overclocking screens for years and years and years. But if you guys do somehow damage your stuff, I'm not liable for it. But on the other hand, if you did damage it, maybe it's covered under warranty because, I mean, you can always, call up or figure out how to change the refresh back down or send it in. I don't know. That's up to you guys. Anyway, I just want to say I'm not liable for it. Please stair step it up. If you are the guys that are already on 120 hertz, I would suggest bumping it up to 130. Test that out to see if it's already stable. Or, if you're somebody else that's maybe on a 60 hertz, try 65 first and then bump it up from there incrementally, one at a time. Don't change anything else, but we're going to get into that here. So I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer before the actual video starts. We've already went over so many different aspects of this particular laptop itself. I think coming up here in the future, we're going to be going over the Zephyrus a little bit more, especially because Best Buy does have 1070 version, which is much cheaper than the 1080 Zephyrus. Very cool laptop, by the way. But anyway, let's get into that actual video now. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to change your resolution and your refresh rate on your laptops. If you were the person that bought your GL702VS at Best Buy, you have a 75 hertz screen. You don't have to go out and buy a new 120 hertz monitor, or screen, I should say, just to put in that laptop. Just because it would really be a waste of your money. You bought a laptop, gaming one, probably for quality, right? You want to be able to play games on ultra settings, things like that. A 1070 GTX will be able to do that with any current game. You can play high settings, ultra settings. You're just not going to be able to get 120 frames per second to begin with. And to actually use and see that 120 hertz, that means you also have to have 120 frames per second to see 120 hertz. So it's just something you don't really have to worry about unless you love playing old games, or playing really low graphic settings. Then yeah, sure, that 120 is a big difference. But I'm going to show you today how to change your 75 into 100, and then I'm also going to show you how to change your 1080p into 4K for gaming. Same screen, you don't have to buy anything different. So let's start off just to show you guys what system I'm on. Let's go ahead and do a DirectX diagnostics. That's me, by the way. That's up in Montana, up in the mountains with a gun that I built. But we're not talking about guns today. So let's go ahead and open up the DirectX diagnostics here. It shows you I'm on the GL702VSK. The BIOS is the new 306. It's about, 4 months old now. So I guess it's not that new, maybe 5 months old. But it does undervolt the GPU and the CPU from factory clock. So it's actually going to be running cooler GPU and CPU without you having to do anything to it. which is great for those people that are too worried and anal about doing any modifications or about even opening up the case or putting the screwdriver on their laptops. So that is a good option for you guys there. Display, just to show you guys, we are looking at 1920 by 1080 at 100 hertz. But the native is actually only 75. So we'll go ahead and show that to you guys here. So we're going to open up the NVIDIA control panel. Make sure this is still recording, by the way. Good, good. And it shows you 75 is the lowest it goes, or 100, which 100 is the custom one that I actually built. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that here. And let's make a change on this ourselves. And I had to start the recording again. The recording does stop when you have any change in your refresh rate, your graphics driver, or your display resolution. So just to show you guys though, I did make that change to 100 hertz. We went back in here. We're looking at, now it shows 32-bit at 100 hertz. So we are overclocked to 100 hertz. It's stable. Some people have gone higher. I don't want to push it. 100 is fine. I mean, really, that's quite a nice difference between 75 to 100 hertz, just because really, if you're some type of person like me that likes to play a game using the highest quality possible, especially with new games coming out, you're barely going to scrape 75 to begin with. You know, especially if you're in some spot where you have a lot of character models and different people, things like that running around in the areas. You're barely going to get above 75 when you're on the ultimate or ultra settings to begin with. So take it with a grain of salt. I mean, really, that 120 hertz is if you're the type of gamer that, I mean, the hertz have to match the frames per second for you to even be able to see the difference in that refresh rate of 100 hertz. So at 100 hertz, I had to have 100 frames per second. So I'm going to have to decrease my graphics quality for something that my eyes will barely be able to tell the difference from. Nah, I'm okay on a laptop. I mean, if I have my gaming rig with 3 graphics cards, everything is overclocked. Sure, I'm going to be pushing everything on ultra settings still, and yes, still having the highest refresh rate possible is ideal. But for the normal user and normal gaming session, you're not going to be able to tell that big of a difference. So we're going to go ahead, exit out of that. Now, one thing I want to show you guys too, we can do a custom resolution. This is what it looks like. It was just kind of bugged out because I was doing the screen recording. So this is what it normally looks like. We're going to create custom resolution. All you want to do is leave everything alone, but like I said, change the refresh rate to 100. That's all you want to do. If you're at 120, you can overclock it probably to around 142, 138, 142, sometimes even 145, just really depends. But play around with that. You guys can overclock it pretty easily. Even if you're not on ASUS, you can overclock pretty much any screen monitor as long as it's, you know, decent quality. So you cannot overclock TVs if you have a external TV hooked up to it. Some projectors you can, but to my testing, I've never been able to get a successful TV overclock. But if you guys have, let me know. Anyway, we're not going to test this because we've already created it. So I'm going to click cancel here, cancel. Now, just to show you guys that this works, we're going to open up a game here, and we'll show you that we're getting 100 hertz as the what game do we have that I can show you guys? I think Assassin's Creed Origins lets you choose the, or actually will display your refresh. So while that's booting up, I'm also going to go into my GeForce Experience, and we're going to set up our HUD so it displays the frames per second. Let's see. In-game overlay. There we go. Settings. HUD settings. Frames per second counter. We're going to turn that on in the upper corner. That's all I wanted. Done. Cool. Exit out of that. Wait for the game to start. Now, keep in mind this may tax it a little bit, just because I'm also using the GPU to decode this or transcode, whatever you want to call that, this live recorded video, which I am doing as a screen share at 1080p. So I'm probably going to get a little worse performance, but we're just looking at this for pure menu options to see if it actually shows the rate. Now, if only the game ran at 500 frames per second. Options here. Still showing up at a 75 hertz, which we may have to do a restart to why. Desync is off, so that is pretty strange that it's not letting us see. Since your monitor is a G-Sync monitor, however, you can leave desync off. So you have G-Sync, leave it off, and just leave your refresh rate there. You've already actually set your refresh rate yourself. Let's go back to the desktop here. Good, this is still recording. Wanted to check that. We have set it ourselves to 100. So even though the game is showing 75, it's just showing the native resolution. We know that it is set at 100. So make sure you guys go in and you turn off desync. You're not going to get frame tearing, or you shouldn't get bad frame tearing because you have G-Sync already. So don't worry about that. This is still kind of complex. I've not seen 100 hertz before. It may just be, like I said, you got to do a restart. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to exit out of this game for now. We'll start it back up here in a second, because in the meantime, I want to show you guys how to do 4K video. So the only downside to 4K is your refresh rate. You cannot do a custom resolution / custom refresh rate if you're going to be doing a 4K resolution on your 1080 screen. So we're going to have to disable this. But on the other hand, if you're gaming at 4K and you're using decent settings anyway, how much do you want to bet me that a 1070 in a laptop is not going to get even up to 100 frames per second anyway? Up to 75 if you have decent settings on the graphics. I mean, so really, you've got to ask yourself, are you after quality or are you after performance? If you're going to be going with a 4K screen, it's a stupid move and a waste of money to buy a screen even, or to spend that extra money on a laptop that has 4K, especially if you've got a 1070 pushing it. If you're the type of person that wants frames per second or performance, that would be the dumbest move in the world. Unless you got a giant wallet and you're buying a laptop that has two 1070s in SLI, that's the size of a, two times larger, 2 times thicker than this laptop right now. It's kind of a stupid move. So again, it's nothing to balk at. You guys, all you got to do is just go in and set it back to native. Set it back to your native resolution. Now, I do got to let you guys know, recording is probably going to turn off when I do this. So I'm going to have this over here just so I can make sure it's still running. We're going to go in and we're going to adjust the 3D settings. And this is where we do it. So DSR, we're going to go 2 times the native resolution. 2 times the native resolution. Now, we can go into smoothness. I have it set to 33%. Now, to my eye, this looks fantastic, and it looks beautiful when I'm gaming. This is going to give me the option when I'm inside games of choosing 4K as a resolution now, utilizing my 1080p monitor, and it's going to look great. It does look better than 1080p. So we're going to hit apply here. It's still recording. Good. All right. So now when we go to change resolution, check this. Our refresh rate, we can use still the native, but we can't. Oh, it's actually letting us. Usually this won't let you do that. We're going to change to our 4K res now. Now, I don't recommend using this on an actual on your actual desktop. I don't. It's not going to look as sharp as possible because we have smoothest turned on and things like that. Plus, you're going to have to go in and you would have to resize everything, you know, at a larger size. Right now, we have scaling set at 100. You'd have to do like 150 or something like that. And I hate scaling and all that, you know, stuff that comes along with that. So I always, just to be honest with you guys, I always keep it at 1080. Keep settings. Yes, that's fine. And we're going to close this. I'm going to start the game back up. Make sure it's still running. All right. We're going to start the game back up and we'll show you 4K gaming. Keep in mind, though, this screen capture that I'm doing is only at 1080p. And also keep in mind the frames per second you're probably seeing in the upper right corner once the game is loaded up here. Also, I didn't do a restart, so that's something to keep in mind as well. You usually want to do a restart once you've changed major settings like that. But let me close this curtain here so I get a little better light. 1 second, guys. That's a little better. Okay. Go into options. There we go. 4K res showing up. Now, it's still showing 75 hertz, which is fine. But we're gonna go 4K. Just watch those frames per second in the upper corner. Right now we're sitting at 150, right around there, 148, 149. We're gonna apply this 4K. It's already dropped it down to 70. Are we gonna keep it? Yeah, we're gonna keep it. So you see the number is smaller up here as well, 78, 79. And again, I'm on my GL702VS, gaming at 4K right now, and it looks beautiful. Gonna go ahead and play. Getting 81 frames per second on the menu, which means in the game I'm probably gonna be getting like 30 frames per second because I still have the graphics set pretty high. But let's give it a shot. Let's see. Getting 47, 50 right here. In the city. That's not really too bad. And for 4K graphics, I mean, hell, it looks... I mean, it looks good. It's got a good feel. I could definitely play this. Not one-handed, though. But for turning my... Hey, baby. Shut up. Okay, So anyway, that's pretty decent. And you guys can always play around with the graphics yourselves. But looks good to me. And it is better than 1080p. Let's now change this to 1080. So we're gonna go into options here. Oh, credits, damn, no. Options, change this back, 1080, apply. Save current, back, and now I'm getting up to my, ultra settings, 50, 60, 40, all around there. It is quite a big difference playing in 4K. This game, again, I went over it before. It is not optimized for PC graphics as much as it's optimized on their console release. So I've changed multiple settings many times on it, and the frame rates do not really equate with each other or go in ratio that well as they should. So that's something to keep in mind as well. This game is not really set up for graphics quite as well as it should be, although maybe future updates will be coming out that will fix that. But what I'm talking about is you can go into settings right now and you can change so many different graphical settings that should give you way higher performance. And I've got literally the same performance in cities with many different changes. So this is just one game. There's like Wolfenstein you can go into, which their Bethesda's graphic settings are much more noticeable based on performance and changes in that performance. So that's something else. I just want to show you guys how to do 4K here on your laptops, whether it's, again, the ASUS GL702VS or Alienware or whatever gaming laptop you have, as long as it's got an NVidia where the factory has not locked that capability. If you don't see the capability and you're not able to do it, it means that the manufacturer is a money-grubbing bastard and they want you just to buy one of their 4K models. So hopefully that is not the case, but it always could be. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and leave your comments here, click subscribe, let me know what else you guys want to check out.